My name is Elaine Whaley Nunnally. I am an artist, and I do have a business for my art. I paint. I paint watercolors. I teach, and sell my work. I go to art shows, and it's a nice life.
Awesome. Take me back. What kind of drew you to the world of art? Give me a quick overview of your journey from the start.
Oh, that's good. That's easy because I have always been drawing. Um, I was always drawing on things when I was a little girl, and I was drawing on the walls and just always. And it's interesting because people talk about, um, having the right lessons, but I think it's either in you or it's not. Because I just always, and I'm the only one in my family who is an artist. And the others are like totally different, not anywhere near. And so, but to tell the truth, my great grandfather was a well known artist for the Lutheran Church. I never met him, but my dad was always saying, "Oh, you've got that from Uncle Kurt." And so maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But my mother's mother also painted on porcelain, and that was a thing around the turn of the century. I didn't know that. But I mean, she's got beautiful vases and things, and she had a kiln and everything. I mean, that just seems amazing. But yeah, so I mean, and she was wonderful. But she didn't like enter shows. I'm a different kind of artist. But as far as getting talent, um, I just was always drawing and loved it. And then I went to college, and everyone was saying, um, don't major in art because it's an overcrowded field. You'll never get a job, blah, blah, blah. And actually, um, I majored in home economics, which was ridiculous. After one quarter, um, I couldn't stand it. And so I changed to art. And and I love it. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I ended up teaching, which I, surprise, loved. And then I taught for 40 years in the public school system here in Loudon. And I never expected to teach for so long, but I truly loved it. And I was a very lucky person to find something that you really love to do. And with art, you're dealing with the creative process all the time, and all the kids and all their things and what they're doing, and I was always encouraging them. And I have to laugh because when I was doing the middle school, they had all these little kids all around me constantly asking me all these questions. And I learned later that I'm actually ADD. And that is perfect for I think most teachers are, because you got to be able to turn from one thing to the next to the next to the, and I was able to do that with no problem. And anyway, so I started teaching and loved it, and stayed. I taught middle school to begin with, and then I switched to high school. All high schools in here in Loudoun County.
Wow, yeah. Sounds like you found your calling.
Oh, it
Wow.
really is. And I
Yeah.
teach adults too, and adults are fun. And anyway, I don't know, it's that teacher thing, like giving, trying to get other people to love art the way I do, and it's fun. It's definitely fun. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I have to say.
no, I can tell you're so passionate, and I think that's one of the most important
Mm-hmm.
traits to look for in a teacher. You want someone that has that burning passion to just
Yeah.
share and teach
Yeah.
what has changed their lives, what
Mm-hmm.
fuels them, what
Uh-huh.
drives them to get up every day in the
Uh-huh.
morning. So
Oh, yeah.
it's
I always felt
beautiful.
lucky because I really loved what I did. I
Hmm.
looked forward to going to school every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of shifting gears, I personally love your Interstate series.
Yeah,
Um,
thank
it
you.
really transforms something ordinary into something extraordinary. What first sparked your interest in highways as a
I can
subject?
tell you exactly what it was. I was taking a class from Skip Lawrence. He's a real well-known artist down in Stanton, Virginia. And it was a 5-day workshop, and I was living in Orkney Springs, which we have a house down there. And so I would drive on 81 for 60 miles, you know, to get to Stanton and attend the class. And I remember Skip said in the very first class, he says, I want you to pick a theme and explore that theme. Well, and I don't paint in themes. I do now, but and I was like, oh no, what am I going to paint about? So I'm in the car driving, and you know, on 81, and going back, driving, and I thought, you know, really, when you drive, especially on the interstate, there's I mean, all these hills and occasional homes, and I mean, it's beautiful bridges, and it's like art. I mean, it's like this would make a good painting. Oh, this would make a good painting. So I started taking these pictures, and not a wise idea when you're driving. But in fact, some of my adult students one year bought me a camera that you sit on your
dashboard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to encourage me. Well, not to encourage me, it just was something they did out of love. And so I'm just constant. Do you know I still do it? I still take pictures of when I'm traveling somewhere, and I just, oh, that would be good. Ooh, you know. And I decided to keep doing it. I must have thousands of pictures on my phone. But the day I'm not interested in doing that and what comes next, that would not be a good day. You know, so I think we always have to look for our next project, our next whatever.
Yeah. Love that. All right. When you start a new piece, how do you decide which techniques like layering, graffito, printing will really bring that idea to life?
Well, actually the picture speaks to me, unless I'm doing a commission. I do a lot of commissions, and they're fun in a way, but you have to please the person who's doing. You know, it has to look like the kid. It has to look like the place. You know, and so you're a little bit bound up in that, and that's a good thing to do too, to get it right. But I just started painting these highway scenes, and it was because I could see all these different, and I started to show them to my friends, and they had never seen anything like it. And I will say, I have been accepted into the American Watercolor Society and many others.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've become a signature member of AWS, which is like impossible. And I just thought maybe before I die, I might get in one time. That's the kind of the creme de la creme. And it's always
Wow.
held at the Salmagundi Club in New York. And I couldn't believe it. I actually got in 3 times. And so I actually have a pin, you know, AWS, but it's an elite group. Not that I am as good as everyone there, but in fact, I enter every year and I haven't gotten in again. It's hard to get in, very hard.
I'm sure.
And but I always keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. In terms of like keeping up with what's going on and watercolors, what keeps watercolor in specific feeling fresh and inspiring for you?
Watercolor is the most. I could talk forever about the watercolor, because I taught art in school, but I never did watercolor. And I remember one time adults, and one of the adults had brought in watercolors and for me to play with, and I hated it. It's hard. I was like, oh, yeah, I wanted to stick to something I could do and do well. And much later, when I happened to be down spending the summer in Orkney Springs, Virginia, JMU was having, and they still do, art workshops for 10 days. And I figured I'm living here anyway for the summer, so I took a watercolor class. And I could not believe, I just totally fell in love. I was painting everything. I was painting all the beautiful scenery around around Orkney Springs, and that really got me started. And little white houses with all the beautiful foliage and everything. And I mean, it's a old village, and I just that was it.
That's very cool. All right. So, kind of, you touched on the watercolor group. I know that you painted with the Loudon Sketch
Oh
Club.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How did that influence your perspective as an artist?
Um, that's a good question. How did it influence? I wanted to get to know local people
Mm-hmm.
and the artist community in Loudoun County because you can't always be going to New York and to, I mean, that's a, AWS is a select group, and so are all the many other organizations that I'm in. And yet I wanted to do something with local to get to know my local people, which most of them I know anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like getting involved in the Loudon Sketch Club. Do you know the Loudon Sketch Club is the oldest art group, I think, in the country?
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
it was started by Dagmar Wilson and oh, Dagmar Wilson and I cannot remember her name. But
No
anyway,
worries.
old people from way back had gotten together and started this club, and they call it the Loudon Sketch Club, and it's great. So
Yeah, it's wonderful that you were able to be a part of that legacy. That's the way I think about it. When things have lasted for that long, it's like, oh, like,
oh, I
how
know,
could
and
I not be a
this is
part of
funny
that?
because I was giving a talk and doing a show with a bunch of friends who are from Loudon, and they were talking about all these people, who are the big names from long ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I know Dagmar. Oh yeah, I knew him. And they were like, because I'm older than they are, and they like, I can't believe you know them. You actually painted with them, and that's because I have a little age on me. But I was very lucky, and Loudon is used to have so many artists and still does. It's just it attracts artists,
Mm-hmm.
and I love being part of that.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone else in Loudon loves that you're part of it as well.
Thank you.
All right. What does creating order out of chaos look like in your
Oh, I
process?
said that, didn't I?
Yeah, and why
That
is that so important in your work? And you touched on being ADD, so I'm sure
yeah,
that that's
yeah.
part of it.
That's and good way to combine those two. And
Yeah.
it we all want to have create order. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a human thing.
Yes.
You throw a bunch of stuff down and you kind of ordering things, make lists of things, and it's just a natural thing to do. And that's what art really is creating order out of chaos.
Hmm.
And those who can do even like abstract art, which I also like and I do, um, that's harder because it's so direct. When you're doing realism, you're just looking at something and copying it. I mean, realism and has become a very popular thing in the watercolor world, but it's not making it up, you know,
Hmm.
and abstract art does. So it's great, and you have to know design to
Yeah.
do abstract art.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the creating order out of chaos idea because as someone with a background in music, that's what music is.
Exactly.
Organizing sound
That's right.
in that way
That's
because
right.
sound is chaos, but
It
music
it
is the
is
way you organize it.
true.
So,
True.
and you have to have the technique for that too. So,
Mm-hmm.
I really resonate with that. It's really awesome. Kind of switching gears to teaching. You've spent over 40 years teaching art, which is
Crazy.
incredible. Thank you for that. What have your students taught you about creativity and resilience?
I believe every child has an opportunity. Sounds like echo to create. It's inborn. We all want to create, and kids love art. And then when they get older, of course, they get more interested in other things. But my teaching my art classes was so fun, because everyone's interested. Everyone wants to, almost everyone. They want to be there. And art is like you can do something and then you think, I did that. I mean, that's reducing the whole process to something little. But at the same time, I did that. And for kids and who may not have that in their life, this is a great thing. And a lot of kids find out they have the ability, and even if they don't, I have my grandchildren. I have learned to say, "Tell me about that," instead of "What's that?"
Yeah.
And because they'll tell you about it. But it's the most exciting thing happening, I think, is the arts, all of the arts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love what you said about them being able to sit back and say, I did that. Because when you're a kid and you don't have a lot of control maybe over your home life, if it's kids in school or just different things, it's so chaotic growing up.
It is.
It can be so grounding to sit back and look at something that you've made and just think it really builds that self-confidence and that identity. So I'm sure you've given that to so many of your students throughout the 40 years. So
yeah, after 40, I guess I did, but
yeah, that's
but
beautiful.
I get so much back from my kids. I miss my kids.
Yeah.
I would go back to teaching if I could have the same kids, and if teaching was the same as it is now.
Yeah. What advice would you give to adults who feel they've missed their chance to explore making
You've never
art?
missed your chance. Because I taught adult watercolor class through Loudon schools at night. And the joy for me was people kept saying, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do that. And either their parents wouldn't let them major in art because what are you going to do? The common question, or whatever. And they were busy bringing up a family. And but there's an awful lot of artists who did that at the same time, that they were bringing up that they were painting well and bringing up a family. Yeah, it's just something. Everyone is interested in art.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to draw. Everyone wants to create something. That's I haven't been found wrong about that.
Yeah. It's a good feeling to have. How do people overcome the fear that their art may not be good enough? I know that kind of holds a lot of people back.
Yeah. Do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I say. Do it anyway. For a long time, because I was accepted in so many shows, I was just having a conversation with my art friend, a really special art friend, and I said, I haven't been painting lately. And my problem, because I got into so many national shows early on, I feel like every time I sit down to paint, it's got to be something great. It's got something that's going to get into the, such and such society or Georgia Watercolor Society, but there's so many around the country. And instead of painting for myself, just having fun. That's why the book was so much fun, because then I actually thought, you want me to show this?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a dream come true for me, because I illustrated this book, Hurry, Scurry, But Do Not Worry. My friend wrote it, and we have another book planned. It's really cute, and I loved illustrating it. And I thought, wow, I really could do this, And but that's always out there, something you could do. But when I was in college, all of my art professors would look down their noses at illustration, and people who went into that was then, and like it wasn't real art, but it is.
Yeah,
It is.
absolutely. Talking more about Hurry, Scurry, But Do Not Worry. How did you approach illustrating the book to capture both the story's heart and your artistic style? How did you kind of balance that?
I never having done this, but when my friend said she wanted me to illustrate it, and I read it, she sent me, and she's in Atlanta, and I was up here. We did it, and it was so cute, and it's written in limerick style, and ideas just kept popping up for me, and this was a special thing, and we're trying to do another one, and I'm like, it has to work. I have to connect with it, and because so far I haven't come up with anything good for her other stories. And but the one story that's a follow up to this, I am going to do that. I don't know. I just started just illustrating some things, and I'd send them to her, email them, and then she'd say, "Oh, that's perfect. Now let's go with that." And there was a lot of research to be done that I didn't realize. Like this little book talks about the mice that get into. This is the bishop, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and things like, okay, what does a bishop's robe really look like? When you're illustrating it, you got to know. I mean, we had a bishop visit in our church, St. James Church, and I actually asked him if he would let me stop and sketch his mitered hat. And because I didn't know. You sit down and like, oh, I don't actually know what that looks like, or I don't know what markings are on the stole. There was a lot of learning to doing this. And then even my friend Carol, who wrote the book, she didn't know some of this stuff, and the whole book was dedicated to her father-in-law, who was a bishop.
Wow.
But sometimes a lot of people don't know. So what we did with this book is Carol wrote an addendum, kind of, and it was like a glossary of all the words that kids will come across in the Episcopal Church, what they mean. Anyway, so that's a learning thing.
Yeah. How do you hope children feel when they look at your illustrations
Oh, I hope they love
alongside
them.
her words? Yeah, you hope
I
they
hope
love
they
them.
love them because they're bright and they're colorful. It just turned out that way, and kids love colorful things, and they're a little bit cartoony, but not really. And because I'm not a cartoonist, I can't. It's just not me.
Yeah. No, but you stuck true to yourself and your artistic vision, and you came through with like beautiful illustrations for this book. So congratulations
Thank you very much.
to you and Carol Smith Hathaway.
Carol, that's right.
Yeah.
Carol
Okay.
Hathaway.
Perfect. Looking back on your career so far, what do you feel is your greatest contribution to the world of art and education?
Getting people to learn and love art, to get them going. As a teacher, and I'm very positive and upbeat.
I can
to
tell.
A fault.
Yep.
To a fault, because I'm always like, that's great. Oh, that's great. Well, maybe if you do this, or I mean, I used to think that was I was too positive. Not everything is great, and yet everything is. Everything has a possibility.
I love that. Everything does have a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, nothing.
It's
There's
beautiful.
no failures.
Yeah.
And
that's really, I think that's what sets good art teachers apart, is everything does have a possibility. Everyone has potential, and
everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. I would never toss a kid out. As a teacher, I taught middle school and high school, but I taught with other teachers, and a lot of them are not like that. A lot of the art teachers, they're lousy, but I don't. So if you approach a kid seriously and start talking about their artwork, it's interesting because you really get into the heart of the child, and what makes them tick, and they're like, oh, I can do what I want to in here. Well, the exception of no nudity or anything.
Of course.
And so that freedom, and many kids succeed, and where they don't in the other classes, and that's actually, most artists are good students too. I want to say that, because there's this, oh well, he can't do anything, but just put him in an art class. No, I mean,
yeah,
you got to be smart.
Absolutely. If you could inspire people to see just one thing differently through your work, what do you think that would be?
Well, for my Interstate series, I want them. So many people, for example, have come back and said, I never thought of things this way. And then I feel really good. Because I want to show them something different, that there actually is artistic, components of just driving behind the wheel and of what you're looking at. You know, you're looking at constant art,
Yeah.
composition, and whatnot.
Yeah, there's art in every day and in every moment there's
And
art.
every moment.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
All right. Well, is there anything else that I didn't touch on that you want to share?
I don't think so. It's been delightful coming here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Elaine, for coming in, making the time to talk. This has been such a beautiful conversation, and I know that our audience is going to love listening. So
I hope
thank you
so.
again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.